with another episode of Bullish Chips, where we talk about chips and only chips. More specifically, the Direxion Triple Leverage Semiconductor Bull ETF, which goes by the ticker symbol of SOXL. We want to take this time to remind you we are not financial advisors. We do not give financial advice on this channel. What we do offer is our view at the price movement for SOXL, both in current day price movement, past price movement, and where we think price will go in the future. We also want to remind you that you can follow us on Twitter or X at Bullish Chips, where you can keep up with us during the trading day and see our real-time entries and exits on our intraday trades, along with entries and exits on swing trades. So let's get into things. Today is Wednesday, July 16th. I've got the day chart up for us today to start out, and we can see, yesterday we said the structure of the daily candle was bearish, and we talked about the different resistance levels here, the year flip, 2813, this monthly downtrend line, as well as this weekly broadening formation. So while we would have liked, continued price action to the upside just from open and overnight as well, we didn't get it. So it wasn't a surprise. We were ready for it. We got a pretty decent push down and actually made a lower low, but it was following a higher high. So that means, we're not necessarily in trend. We're just creating a broadening formation. But by the end of the day, we had created a hammer. Not only created a hammer, but flipped the day green to make that hammer green, and things finished rather bullish. We had a pretty great day of trading, taking advantage of both the downside action in the morning as well as the move to the upside. No, we didn't get the move from the very bottom of the move today going up, but what we did do is made sure that we had a confident entry point and weren't just guessing at a bottom, and we were still able to capture 2/3 of the move to the upside. So all in all, pretty great day trading, getting profit both to the downside and to the upside. So without further ado, let's kind of get into the smaller time frames and look at what happened during the day. So you can see we had the gap from yesterday, and we actually gapped the gap, as I say. I'm not sure if anybody else calls it that, but we gapped the gap and got an immediate push down. Even if we went down to the 5-minute, there was no trigger on the way down, right? We were looking for, if you're looking for a trigger, you're looking for some type of lower high or something of that nature. But for the first half of the move down, there was no trigger to the downside. You either had to get in blind at open, or not necessarily blind because we could see the pre-market action, but you'd have to get in right at open, not really giving yourself much of a risk to reward. Where do you put your stop? Do you put it at the start of the previous day's gap or the bottom of the previous day's gap? Do you put it at your entry, just stop even? Do you go half gap rules? Do you wait for a possible gap fill reversal? Me personally, I don't want to give up that much in order to try and get some reward to the downside that I wouldn't be very confident in getting because of the way that the market has bought the dip basically for the past 3 months or since the April bottom. So like I said, you had to get in just kind of on feeling, or even if you go down to the 1-minute, there weren't really many entries here. We were able to get in on the double top, lower high double top. Let's make this bigger here so we can all see what we're looking at. So rather than just getting in at open, we said, whatever we're going to get now is going to be a scalp anyway, because the push to the downside could be over with anyway. Overnight could have been the push that we got, and we could have just bounced from there and refilled the gap and just kept going. But we knew that if we were going to get in something, it would be a scalp, and if we can at least try and find some type of trigger, it may not be on the 5 minute, but if we can find some type of trigger on the 3 minute or the 1 minute, let's go ahead and get in. So we waited for the lower high double top here. You see how it went high, low, which was actually a higher low, but when it went back up for the higher low, it went lower high. Once we saw that, that put us on alert. Not to mention we were in a 1-2 up position, which if we got the strat reversal, it was a 1-2 up, 2 down with the magnitude of being the bottom of this 3. And with the momentum we already had to the downside, if we got another kind of little flush like that, I was pretty confident we would continue the movement down. We didn't get the full strat completion on this candle, but it with the combined 2 down, we reached the bottom of this strat. You see we kind of played around for a little bit there again. Our stops were here at that point. Actually, they were at this one because we entered off of this lower high. So just to be safe, we had to stop here, which still gave, from here to here would have been a loss, right? But we were still risking it because we were trying to, our first target was going to be this 4-hour trigger. So we entered on the breach of this 2. We got the push down, got a lower high here, got another push down, and at that point it kind of became a waiting game. We lowered our stop to above this high, and it was enough above that high that none of these little wicks ever triggered it. I was pretty sure we were going to get triggered somewhere in this sideways action, especially the longer it went on. I think I might have even tweeted, the longer we go in this sideways action, the more I think bears are losing steam. But with patience, we got a second push down. It got to our target point and we sold. We left a runner. We did leave one runner. It got stopped out up here. This was all scalping. So yes, after we were in, we were zooming back out to the 5 minute, 15 minute. 5 minute didn't have any real violations. Oops, Thinkorswim will play nice with me. Didn't have any real violations. Lower high, lower high, lower high, and then down, lower high. So once we breached that, we knew we had to get out of there. We had to stop. Well, I'd have to go back and look at my tweets. I believe we put the stop here. I'm not sure what time is that? 10:25. Let's go to the 1 minute, because I don't know how that would have played out on the 1 minute. 10:25 was around here. Yeah, so at some point we decided to sell. Oh, this is the wrong day. That can't be right. I'm like, that doesn't look right. We go to 10:25 on today. 10:25. Okay, yeah. So we got out with looks like a higher high here, higher low, and then went higher high. Got out, missed this. Oh, that's what it was. We got our runner to stop out at our target. I knew we hit target with something, but yeah. So our runner stopped out, and then at that point we really sat on our hands. I went back out to the 15 and saw that we had an opportunity to make a 3-2 down, 2 up. So that kind of put me on alert. We had hit our target point. It was. I don't want to stay in puts too long because of how the dips have been bought over the last few months. So really sat on our hands. The 3-2 down, 2 up put us on alert. It ran the 3-2 down, 2 up, but it did not, make a higher high. It ran the strat. I guess it did make a higher high since it ran the strat and some, but it didn't reach this high of this consolidation range that we had. So we didn't enter here on the 3 down, 2 down, 2 up because we were still in a downtrend technically. But what this candle did was start to reverse the trend, and once we saw the lower high here, it was a 3. So we waited till the 3 was breached. Once that was breached, I'm glad we got in when we did, because as soon as we did, it took off. We stayed in because we didn't break any rules. We made a higher high, we made a higher low, We stayed in. I ended up selling at the end of the day just to take profit. We still have, I don't know how many contracts, but multiple contracts for July 25th that we've been swinging, as well as August monthly. As far as like short term swings are concerned, we still have the September, November's, and January's for 26 and 27. So as far as like shorter term stuff goes, I didn't really want. I just wanted to take the profit for today, because we have those swings, and we'll continue to let those work. Um, yeah, I mean that was the day. It was a good day to the downside, good day to the upside. The entries that we got were actual triggers and not just jumping in the middle of some candle because we see it going. Um, the whole time we did have internals playing rather nicely as well. Let's bring this up. So if we look at let's maximize the sell. So if we look at the tick during the day, there's the push down in the morning. Here's the sideways action. The tick, one thing that I like to keep in mind, if the tick pushes up real hard, but price action on the underlying stock doesn't, then to me that says this movement here is just setting a lower high on the underlying price, right? And you could see that because we didn't get violated until about 10. Our rules didn't get violated until about 10:25, but this was at 9:45. This push, so even during this big push on the tick, that's one thing you can kind of start to notice as you look at this more is if you get a big push on the tick but underlying price isn't moving up high like that, isn't making higher highs, then we probably got more downside left, and that's exactly what it did. Here's that second half of the dump to the downside, 10:25. We got out probably during this little push back up. We saw we got one more push down. Our runner got knocked out, as we push back up here, and then from here you can see how all the action is basically above the zero line, and not there was a little bit at the zero line. This is where we consolidated a little bit before it really took off, but everything else was pretty much higher over the line, 300s and above. So that's the tick. The vol QD, and these are internals for QQQ, not just chips but QQQ. In the morning, it actually opened in positive territory, but it wasn't pushing really hard or anything like that. So the slow gradual movement, it was still volume inflows as price was going down. So you could tell it was kind of a squeeze on price going down. Here's that second little flush that it had, but when we got a bounce off of basically zero line or above zero line with a strong candle, then it's like, okay, the inflows are really starting to pour in now. This is probably starting to flip. That's what also gave us more confidence to get in up here around this area, which is where we got our calls. So we pushed up when we were in our calls. We were at the trend higher zone. That's what gave us more confidence to stay in those calls while we had this small little pullback, because we were still right here at trend higher zone. This 400 million, that's trend higher zone. And then you can see the end of the day, just we're definitely in trend higher zone there, and that was evident with the finish in the day. And then lastly, at the advanced decliners, you can see at the beginning of the day, although it opened up in trend higher zone, it went immediately down to begin with. So and here's that second movement down. So you can see once it got below zero, that's definitely bearish, but it reclaimed the zero line. And once it reclaimed the zero line, and you don't really read this like a normal chart. Yeah, it's a higher low. I like to say that, but like that, it still signifies like, okay, it tried to push back down, but it's going again. So this again continues to give us confidence to stay in the play. By the end of the day, it was in trend higher zone. So internals played along nicely with price action, and we were able to use our plays with confidence. We can see on the 15, the 50's back over the 200. The hour, this is the one thing that we do want to keep track of. We haven't made a higher low or a higher high yet. So technically, we're still in a downtrend, right? And we'll see that when we get more to the micro charts, the day trade and scalp charts, because we have the hourly downtrend line there. Yeah, we got above it at the end of the day, but let's see. Yeah, we can still see we're like 30 cents down, 30 cents in afters, and that's like technically minus 1% on SOXL. You can see here 26 cents is almost 1%. That, and we had that was today's move. This isn't after hours, but yeah, so we're down almost 1% on SOXL and afters, which is another reason why I sold the calls that we got today, because it was a great push, but it was coming off of a lower low, right, after a lower high. So we're in a downtrend. This could possibly just be the test of the trend level. Now, could we break through it? Of course. It's SOXL, it's chips. You never know what's gonna happen in this market, but we want to respect the fact that it is technically in a downtrend, and we could just turn back down to the downside. Not much room left to finish filling the gap. Who knows if we just fill the gap and push back down? But that still remains to be seen. We'll see tomorrow and the coming days what happens. But that's how it looks from the 1 hour perspective. Still in a downtrend. The 4 hour, we're looking better, right? It's not a downtrend. It is a broadening formation, right? And we'll see that once we get more to the micro time frames, because I have this already plotted out. But you can see there's a very distinct broadening formation that has started to form. So do we go up, hit the top of this broadening and come back down? Do we go down first, test the bottom again and go back up? Do we just trend sideways after we fill this gap? Again, we'll see. But right now things are looking pretty bullish. On the 4 hour, it did trigger the 1, 2 down, 2 up. Hasn't reached magnitude. Magnitude is up here at the top of this 2. So we've still got a ways to go if it's going to complete it. At the same time, there's plenty of room in this the magnitude that it didn't reach for this 4 hour to create a lower high. So we're still not just going all in on calls or all in on puts. It's really some just volatility at this point, and we'll play the range, right? Every time we get to the bottom of this range that we got here, you can try and go long to the top. Every time you get back towards the top of this range here, you can try and short or buy puts and get back to the bottom. But 4 hour, we're still in a sideways or broadening formation, not really in a trend. The day, same thing, right? No real trend. We got a higher high after a higher low, but then we made a lower low. So we're just making a broadening formation. We'll see what's happening. We've still got the resistance of the monthly downtrend line. Still got the resistance of the weekly broadening formation. We've still got the resistance of the year flip. So just keep all that in mind. Today was a good day. Had a nice strong finish at the end. People tend to forget the beginning of the day, but let's not forget. Let's not get what do they say over our skis. So let's go on down to the lower time frames. Don't know that we really need to go through the price action on the lower time frames, but we will point out that it did respect our levels, right? Here's last month and last quarter's high, coincides with the 78.6 of the 2024 run up, right? You can see we got action here. Horizontal levels, we've got action. We do have the daily uptrend line here, which appears as it kind of caught it, right? But I don't really attribute too much to trend lines. It coincides with these horizontal lines, so I look at it as this was just corrective activity at these horizontal lines before going back up, not necessarily a bounce off of a trend line. If it was a true bounce, our wick would probably have bounced off of there. But all in all, we're still looking good with as far as the levels. You can see that it came back up to this monthly downtrend line, and what happened? We got the pullback to what level? What the 50% line, which coincides with the overnight low. We got to bounce off of there. So what was our next target? Opening print. We got to opening print. Not too much corrective activity, but you can see it was a smaller candle. Once it resolved what it needed to resolve here at this level, you can see it shot off, and you got a initial rejection off of this hourly downtrend line. Now it looks like it was gonna, it looks like it bounced off of that downtrend line. We've still got a 4-hour downtrend line in the top of the gap. A lot of times you can get a gap fill reversal. So again, we still got some resistance here. We've got to fully deal with this hourly downtrend. If we deal with it to the upside, we've got to deal with this 4-hour downtrend line and the top of this gap. But if we resolve that to the upside, we've got our other targets, last week's high and other horizontal targets. But just kind of a quick little recap how our levels get respected, our intraday levels get respected, and the lines that we draw are for a reason, not just to cloud the page. So let's get in here. Let's just move our 4-hour markers first, and then we can kind of look at things a little bit more. So let's zoom in here. I know it's kind of messy on the scalp chart, but we've got to get these drawn in on the scalp chart. That way we can scalp the way that we scalp, right? It may not be the way that you scalp, but if you follow our method, then it's definitely something that we want to continue to do. So there's our previous low of the day that we've moved. We'll move our 4-hour trigger to the downside to the bottom of the second 4-hour candle of today. We'll move the 4-hour trigger to the upside to the top of the second 4-hour candle from today. And we'll move our previous high of day to today's high of day, right? Oops. It's that simple. And we just need to do it on one more chart. Actually, oops. One more thing we need to do. We need to remove the opening print. Remove. Alright, so let's go to our day trade chart. Let's get these all moved, right? So activate previous low a day. Move it to today's low, because today's low tomorrow will be yesterday's low. Anyways, let's move the 4-hour trigger to the downside to this bottom of the second 4-hour today. Do the same with the trigger to the upside. We'll move it to the high of the second 4-hour candle today. And then we will move previous low a day to today's high. Previous high day to today's high. And we're done. We'll go to our swing chart and remove the opening print. Alright. And we will go to our 4-hour to line up our triggers. I also want to let's go to the day. And let's just kind of again zoom back out, look at our structure, right? So the day candle was good. Let's get some more days on here. The day structure was good, right? I like that we had that, but we're coming up on this area of chop, right around this year flip. There's a lot of chop from the beginning of the year and from the end of last year. Right, so be cognizant of that. It continues to the left as we go to the left. That 29-30 area, 28, really, yeah, 28, 29, 30 area. Even almost as low as 26, yeah, 26 to 30 is where you get into the beginning of the chop. Then once you get above 30, we've got a whole nother fight on our hands. Remember yesterday, in our video, we drew the different boxes that double this trading zone from here to here. If we draw a box and move it up one, you get a whole nother trading box. And so we're trying to get into that whole other trading box. Let's take a look at the week. Remember, we just want to keep in mind the long-term perspective before we get in here to our short-term targets. So, we've got decent structure on the week. Could be better, but we got a doji. It's still green. We've still gone higher high. We haven't gone lower low yet. So we are not a 3. But we've got this resistance and this chop zone. So if you're gonna go long from here, I would just get plenty of time. You know, try and stay close to the current strike. Close to the money. You may want to target this 39.40 was probably the highest I would go, and if I did that, I'd probably want no less than a January 26 contract. So, you know, you only knew you know your risk tolerance, only you know your bank account, and only you can make the decision for yourself on what you want to trade. But right now, I don't think it's prudent yet to buy any new longs. If you're in some already, like we are, then that's one thing. But anything new, I don't think yet we need to jump into until we get some type of like maybe higher low on the week or something. Because again, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 now green weeks in a row. If we finish this week green, that's 7 green weeks in a row. I mean, we can continue to just go up forever. You can't rule that out, but you usually get some type of pullback on a week basis, whether it just be one red candle, like over here, before continuing to go higher, or some type of like actual real pullback before going higher. Maybe you get 2 red weeks. Here's 2 red weeks. There's 2 red weeks before it did go higher there. But you usually get some type of pullback. We're 7 weeks green, so just be aware. Just be aware of what we're doing. Let's go to the month. The month still looks pretty good. We're getting a little bit of a wake up here, right? But if we look at how things are standing up, we're looking pretty good. Looking pretty good, right? Combo 2 down, 2 up. If we breach the top of this 2, now we get into this 3, which we should reach the top of. Looking for it, but again, don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Oops, not the year. Well, we can look at the year. The year is red still, but we're close to flipping. If we flip, we pretty much hammer, and you can see the 2 down, 2 up, failed 2 down, 2 up forming. But the quarter, we're looking good. 2 down, 2 up. Magnitude of this, the high of this 2. If we breach that, then we trigger the 1, 2 down, 2 up, which is also a combo of the 3, combo 2 down, 2 up. So, target will be 70. Don't know that we get there this year, but it lays the groundwork, right? So let's get back in here to the 4 hour. Let's get our levels marked out. Let's get our notes for tomorrow updated. Oops, that's a little big. All right, so there we have it. Let's go to our notes. Duplicate today's notes and make the changes. All right, so we want Thursday, July 17th, and these are from July 16th. There will be 114 trading days left. The SOXL closed at 27.03. All right, so we are still green on the month. Green on the week, green on the month, green on the quarter. We're red on the year, but we're close to that flip. So the 4 hour markers, let's look to the downside first. This would be a 2 up, 2 down, trigger being the bottom of this candle, magnitude being the bottom of this candle. So the bottom of this candle, the low, is 26.12. Wait, did I look at that right? Yeah. Low is 26.12. We're good there. 26.12. Magnitude, the low 24.91. All right. Target, I would go 24.62, 24.38. 62, 24.38. All right. So that 24.62 happens to be a lower low on the 4 hour. Actually, this will be 2491 is the first one, 24.91, and then 2462. All right, so that is for a 2 up, 2 down. Now, if we get a 2 up, 2 up continuation, that is a 1, 2 down, 2 up, combo 2 up as well. So that's 1, 2 down, combo 2 up. Our trigger is previous high a day, which is 2705. All right. Magnitude being 2846. Okay, so that's already there. We can leave those targets. Those remain from yesterday, all right? So, although we have a magnitude here, it's initially a 2 up, 2 up without making a combined strat. So here, since it's 2 up, 2 up, we take the trigger of the 2 up, 2 up, which is today's high, and still make it the trigger for the day because that's the day's high. But we take the magnitude of the downside, make it the trigger for the downside on the day. And we can see if we get to our swing chart, still a little messy, but let's get it bigger to make it better. All right, so the downside would be a 2 down, 2 down continuation, low 2491 being the trigger. Right, so that's the magnitude of the 4-hour, 2491. Our target would be the 2462, 2438. Right, because we would have had to still come all the way back down from up here. Right, so those are reasonable targets if we're starting somewhere up here. I guess a more extended target would be the 23.5. I would highly doubt if we ever get there, or if we get there tomorrow, but that is an extended trigger, right? So this is a failed 2 down, 2 up. Oops, I forgot to delete this. So 2 down, 2 up. We've got a magnitude, trigger being the high a day, right? So high a day, 2705. Magnitude being yesterday's high, which is 2846. 2846, which is also the magnitude of the 1, 2 down, combo 2 up. And we'll leave the rest of these targets up here as well. Again, 2773 was the trigger for the 2 up, 2 up on the week. We're only at 2703, so we're not in that strat continuation anymore. We're back inside last week, so just keep that in mind. Last week's high could be definitely a point of resistance again. But yeah, that's what we've got played out. No real triggers on the week like we talked about, because we've been in we're in our 7th straight week now of green action. So there's no like 2 down, 2 up to play off of, or 1, 2 down, 2 up, or 1 green 3. I guess those are really like the main reversals that you could get. But yeah, we're not in a reversal right now. So there's nothing really on the week perspective to get in on. There's nothing on the month to get in on. There's nothing on the quarter to get in on. As far as anything new, we're already in them. And I mean, you can always jump in them, but we're talking about having actual triggers, actionable triggers to get in on. Everything is on the day and lower, right? So one thing you can take in mind is going long on the buying like August 1st expirations. Again, we're at Wednesday now. Tomorrow will be Thursday. So buying next week's expirations is kind of like buying a weekly at the beginning of the week. As far as that's concerned, your theta is gonna start eating away pretty rapidly at this point. So Me personally, for a day trade on a trigger, something that's triggering the on the day chart, and something that I'm gonna try and be in for the full day, possibly swing overnight. I'm gonna go August 1st expirations, if not August monthlies. August monthlies probably wouldn't move as quick, even when you're deep in the money. They move kind of funny when you're deep in the money, but you can get some good movement off of being at the money or one strike in the money. Um, if you're getting August 15th, or the monthly August expiration. If you want to get something, on a day trade or overnight swing, decent return. Otherwise you get too far out of the money. You got to really wait for it to start to push up before you're gonna earn real money on it. I guess if you load up on contracts, you can also do that as well. That way you don't need as much movement, and you sell a bunch of your contracts, and maybe leave a couple runners or something like that. But that's what we're looking at. Not necessarily bullish, but definitely not bearish. Just playing the broadening formation as we see it, letting everything play out, and being ready to make money on either side, possibly even both sides in one day. So do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely leave me a comment, to let me know what you think about the video. If there's anything I've gone through too quickly, if there's anything you think I stay on for too long, if there's anything you disagree with, let me know. I'm always open to discussion, or constructive criticism. I'd love to get better, but my main focus here is just to make one video, one cut, not have to do a bunch of editing, and just grow a little community, a niche community of people who like to trade the SOXL ticker symbol, and make profit on a consistent basis. So like the YouTube page, follow us on X, for live, or real time entries and exits, and have a great rest of your night, but hopefully an even better trading day tomorrow. All right, bye.